Welcome back to the Buzzard Commentary Track and Field. On the screen, you have the indisputable greatest middle distance runners of all time. In this video, I'm going to dissect why they are considered the greatest, and I'm also going to give my opinion of who I think is the best of them all. Of course, that is Hicham El Guerrouj and Jakob Ingebrigtsen. Most people would agree that El Guerrouj is still considered the greatest middle distance runner of all time, at least right now. And I agree with that. And I'm going to give you my reasons why here in a couple minutes. Jakob Ingebrigtsen, however, being such a young athlete, a lot of people, including myself, not everyone, think that he is on pace to surpass Hicham El Guerrouj, and I'll talk about that as well. So if you guys stay with me, this is going to be pretty exciting. So first off, let's talk about Hicham El Guerrouj, what he did, why he was so dominant. Basically, in the late 1990s, he was an absolute force for the 1500 meter and the mile. He basically won virtually almost everything. As a matter of fact, he won 83 out of 86 of his championship, or excuse me, 83 out of 86 of his races. He did lose several key championship races during that time. In particular, at the 2000 Olympics, he had a major loss, but then he had redemption, and he ended up securing that 1500 meter Olympic gold medal in the 2004 Athens Olympics, where he also became a double Olympic champion by also getting the 5,000 meter Olympic crown. But let's back this up a little bit. Prior to that, he had actually won 4 consecutive world championship titles in a row in the 1500 meter. Okay, so that is 1997, 1999, 2001, and 2003. So that is a complete dynasty and overtaking of the 1500 meter. Nobody has quite gotten to that level of a dynasty yet. However, and I'm going to speak a bit more about Hicham El Guerrouj here. However, Jakob has been building his own dynasty, as many of you already know, in the 5,000 meters. So back to Hicham El Guerrouj, he won all of those races. He set a number of world records, including the mile, the 1500, 326 even, the mile with 343.13, just a ridiculous time. He also set the world record at that time for the short track, 1500 and the mile, and he also set the world record for the 2000 meter. Now, the two most iconic middle distance races are definitely, indisputably, the 1500 meter and the mile. He still has those to this day. However, Jakob Ingebrigtsen is close on his heels for both of those times. But here's something that I need to mention, because I know this is an important thing for a lot of people, and I would agree with them. Hicham El Guerrouj did all of his things in the late 1990s. That was certainly before a lot of this modern day technology, like the green light technology that athletes can use at things like Diamond League races, where there's pacers and they're trying to set world records. So that might have definitely had him at a slight disadvantage for technology, in addition to super shoes. So this was certainly before the super shoes and all of the added technology that adds additional spring basically to athletes these days. So with all those things in consideration, the times that Hicham El Guerrouj was able to run with the 326 in the 1500 meter, as well as the 343.13 in the mile, and the, what did he have, 444 point something in the 2000 meter, which was eventually broken just recently by Jakob Ingebrigtsen. Well, all of those times we have to factor in the fact that Hicham El Guerrouj, the Moroccan, did all of that without the addition of the super shoes and the modern technology. And from doing some research, experts would say that that could possibly lead Jakob Ingebrigtsen and other modern day athletes to have somewhere between, I believe, 1 to 1.5 seconds of additional faster pace, basically, an advantage. So with all those things in consideration, I would say that most people would still say that Hicham El Guerrouj is currently the greatest middle distance runner of all time. But let's talk a little bit more now about Jakob Ingebrigtsen and why is he even in this conversation. So Jakob Ingebrigtsen, a young Norwegian, he is, I believe, 24 years old now, and he has set a number of world records already. Like I said, he does not yet have the 1500. He's just a hair behind. Last year, during one of the Diamond League races, he was able to clock a time of 326.73. So that is 0.73 seconds off of the world record. But again, remember, he does have the super shoes and some of that added technology. For the mile, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, I believe, is again about 0.6 or so seconds off. I think his mile time is somewhere around 3:43.7. You guys can check me in the comments. I might be a little bit off on that, but he's about a half second or so off on his mile world record as well. But here's where it gets really interesting for Jakob Ingebrigtsen, and this is some of the other world records that he has. So that his 2-mile world record and his 3,000 meter world record. Some people would argue that the 2-mile world record is only considered a world's best. I say it's a world record. I mean, he's the fastest person to ever do the 2-mile. But regardless, world record. Jakob Ingebrigtsen took these extremely long-standing world records that had literally been held for decades from Daniel Komen. He held those records. Daniel Komen had a 7:58 2-mile set decades ago, and he also ran the 3,000 meter in, I believe, 7 minutes and 20 seconds, somewhere right around there. In a short period of time, Jakob Ingebrigtsen ends up running a 2-mile in 7:54, fastest time ever by approximately 4 seconds. And then shortly thereafter, he broke the 3,000 meter world record as well, and he broke it by about 3 seconds. He clocked somewhere around 7 minutes and 17 seconds. So what I'm saying here is, not only did he shatter these long-standing world records, but he was actually able to do it by at least 3 to 4 seconds respectively. He did, again, he has taken the 2,000 meter world record from Hicham El Guerrouj. That one was not quite as big of a gap. I think he took it by maybe less than a second or so. But those other 2 records, he completely shattered them. Jakob has also taken several other world records. He has the short track world record for the 1500. He also has the short track world record for the mile. That one is particularly impressive because Yared Nuguse just recently set the short track world record. I think he was around 346 low or somewhere around there. Jakob actually broke that short track world record for the mile literally 5 days later, and he broke it by over a second, which is insane. Just kind of goes to show that he is like on a mission. Jakob has made it known that his goal is to break every single world record from the 1500 to the marathon. Whether or not he does that, I personally think it is hypothetically possible for sure. Maybe even feasibly possible. He's young, he's 24 years old, he's hungry. He's been getting better every single year. Like I said, he's not that far off on the mile and the 1500. We do have the super shoes thing that I already mentioned. Jakob has been completely dominating the 5,000 meter. So this is the comparison that I wanted to make here. Hicham El Guerrouj had a complete dynasty for 4 different championships in a row in the 1500 meter. So far, Jakob has basically been able to do the same thing in the 5,000 meter. He has 2 world championships followed by last year's Olympics in Tokyo. That's 3 world crowns in a row. What is particularly impressive to me is that during that time, he was focused more on the 1500 meter, as many people know, because he's been trying to hunt down the Olympic gold medal again in the 1500 meter, as well as break the world records from Hicham. So during this whole stretch of time, he basically was focusing most of his time in his races and his Diamond League appearances to the 1500 meter and races like the mile and so forth in the Diamond League. And during that stretch of time, he was able to completely dominate the 5,000 meter. So again, he might not have quite the long length of Dynasty yet, but he's very close on the heels of that. What else to say? I mean, Hicham El Guerrouj, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, it's kind of anyone's game at this point. I would still say, to summarize, that Hicham El Guerrouj would, in my mind, be considered the greatest of all time as of now. But for the reasons that I laid out, I do believe that Jakob Ingebrigtsen is close on his heels. He's been targeting all these world records. He's been smashing world records, at least in many cases. Both of them, I wanted to add this one thing as well, because I kind of forgot to say this, but both of them did lose some key races as well. I think that is something, to note there, is that during that dynasty and that complete dominance that Hicham El Guerrouj had in the 1500 meter, he did end up losing some key races, especially in the 2000 Olympics. Jakob has had several losses as well, as many people know. He's lost to Josh Kerr, he's lost to Whiteman. He also lost to Cole Hawker in the recent Olympics. So he definitely has had some key championship losses. Hicham El Guerrouj had several key championship losses. Arguably, if we look at it, maybe Jakob has lost a couple more of those championship races, but regardless, both of them very, very dominant in their respective fields. And I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Am I way off base? Am I anywhere close? And how I wrap this up, let me know in the comments. I would love to talk about this. Who do you think is the greatest middle distance runner of all time? Is it Hicham El Guerrouj? Is it Jakob Ingebrigtsen? Or am I just wildly crazy? And is there someone else like an 800-meter runner or someone that you believe takes the torch from both of them? Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next video.